I'm not sure where to start here. Climax is nightmare fuel. It's about a dance company back in the 90s that are celebrating some kind of end of their time together. Did it make you feel bad? It made me feel pretty terrible. Yeah, I felt pretty sick by the end of this movie. Pretty ill. Especially towards the end here, it gets nauseous. Again, this is like every kind of trigger warning is going to be in here, and I just don't want to get into it, all of those specific details here too much is all. But they essentially take a whole bunch of acid, or not even acid, we don't know. Somebody spiked their drinks, and it just ends up being like this hour-long nightmare of everyone not being able to control themselves. Apparently, it was Angry Joe's worst movie of 2019. That's crazy. I mean, I love this movie. I love this movie, but it's very difficult. It's a difficult movie. Yeah. So it's edited in a very specific way as well. We start out with it's like I tried to time everything out because it's so strange. It's about 10 minutes of interviews. So much is important here. And one thing that's very important about this movie is how it was made, right? This was almost all improv, and that's very important. Rating is 69 across the board. Coincidence? I think not. We do see that sometimes. If it's A24, I'll probably watch it eventually. I recommend it. Yeah, if the trigger warning stuff, because I generally don't get bothered by pretty much anything, and there was one scene in particular that really got me in this one. Rating is, I think not. But one thing that's really important about this movie is how it was made, and that it was almost all improv. Like, the director didn't have a script. He basically gave a couple of character ideas to a whole bunch of actors who had never been in movies before. You know, it's a lot of people's first roles, is my understanding. This is also a French movie, and everybody basically showed up on set with ideas of what they wanted to do and how they and where they wanted to go. And my understanding, and again, this is all my understanding of reading Wikipedia, right? So, you know, but my understanding is that he gave his actors liberty to take the characters wherever they wanted to go. Sounds like a perfect, no, SK, you should not watch this movie. This movie's a lot of screaming and yeah, you would not, you would not like this movie. And so most of it is entirely improv, and that leads to some very strange questions. So we start out with about 10 minutes of interviews where it's like a TV and there's books on the side, and we're watching static tapes of these actors and dancers answering questions like they would for an audition, and they're asking them very strange questions, or not even strange questions, but we're ranging from what do you love about dancing, to would you do anything to dance, to what literally, would you do anything to dance? And they're like, yes. And they're like, are you sure? And then they start asking about drugs, and then they start asking about dreams and nightmares. And I'm kind of wondering throughout all these, maybe they're trying to distill all of these questions and ideas into the same thing, where dancing is their life, dancing is their dream, it's also their nightmare, and it's what corrupts them and makes them unhappy as well. That's kind of what I'm thinking they're going for here throughout the whole movie as well, is that we start out with this very fine and exciting dance troupe that just slowly goes insane by horrifying, people are dead, burned, and continuing to do drugs by the end of this movie. It's the thing that makes them. Dancing is the thing that makes them, or art is the thing that makes them, and it's also the thing that ruins them. And why I think it's so important that improvisation was key here is because even these interviews are improv. So essentially we have a whole bunch of actors who have never been in a movie before, who are improvising everything that they can, and in my opinion are probably trying, if you think about it in their shoes, they're probably trying to fight for screen time, right? You show up on set and you are trying to come up with the best idea to keep the camera on you. You know, it's just you really feel the rat race in this movie. You feel everyone kind of fighting for attention, and when you have improv, things can especially when you have the leeway here to kind of do literally whatever you want. Like this movie is very, very, very sexual as well. We have one of the early parts of the movie is just rotating it. Rat Race, good movie. You might really enjoy this. Then I like all that I could think about during this movie was pretty much Twitch, right? Like everybody saying and doing literally whatever they can to keep the camera on them, right? We have at one point we're following a lady down the hallway, and all of a sudden she just starts screaming and flopping around on the ground. And naturally the camera's looking at her. And then we have another part where like a girl takes a knife, and they plan these things out beforehand, right? But they still have to come up with these ideas beforehand, and the director seems to have made it very clear that these ideas are coming a lot from the actors. It's collaboration, they're working together, but he's at least built an environment for these things to happen, right? LMAO, oh my god, well, I'm glad you watched it, so that exactly like if this sounds bad, then it is bad. I'm someone who doesn't really get bothered by pretty much anything that people really say or do for the most part, and things did get to me in this. Some scenes were really, really hard to watch, and just knowing that a lot of it was improvised, and knowing that why some of these scenes might have come about was also disturbing, and I also think is the point, and is also why they included like all of these interviews at the beginning, and then like another part of the beginning of the movie is following a whole bunch of actors. I love the way this movie is cut, first of all, but we reach a point where it's like you have two people in frame against a wall, and that's all that is. It's literally like if you look at my camera, it's me and this person here, and this is the entire framing. That's all it is, and you are just cutting between a whole bunch of different groups of people. You don't know who they're talking about, you don't know what they're talking about, and they're all talking about eventually pretty much just like fucking everybody, it just started. You literally like watch them slowly escalate to kind of being funny and talking about drinking and stuff like that, and you just see them saying crazier and crazier and crazier things, and in my opinion it's so that they cut them into the movie. I do think that all of this was kind of intentional here. Like some lady just starts pissing on the ground at one point, like she's dancing next to someone, and she just starts like, that one was hard for me too, like she just starts pissing on the ground, like and they're oh god, I just don't want to get into all the details, even though I did love this movie. Like it really throws you in here, and it's so, I think one of the most shocking things was how quickly I moved on from stuff, right? You watch, so sounds like a social experiment disguised as a movie. I agree, and that's kind of why I loved it so much, because I think the director knew what he wanted, and he set up because even he would show up on set and be like, I want this long ass I want like a super long master take of something, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it. We're just gonna show up on set and figure it out. But he set up a set, he set up a situation that would allow all these improv ideas to thrive and actually work. I thought this movie was incredibly successful. But something else that really stood out to me was how quickly I moved on from whatever horrifying thing had just happened. As soon as the camera is focused off what just happened and focused on something else that's totally horrible, you just forget about it. You just stop thinking about it. You stop like reacting to it at all. It no longer matters. That was really disturbing to me. I don't know if that's just like a me problem, or if that just speaks to the larger idea of like rage culture on the internet and Twitter, and just constantly getting mad about the next thing. And Mr. Beast is probably like the best example of this right now. I mean, he's had continued problems recently, but it feels like the problems that were like a month ago are no longer he has new problems today, and everybody's forgotten about the problems that were like a month ago. No one wants to hear about it. No one really cares about those anymore. It's only what's in front of you in frame that matters, and we're talking like some really heinous shit. Like at one point, a mom like locks her kid because someone spiked the juice and the kid drank the juice too. Did you climb? Good morning, Doomboggle. Good morning. What a question. What an entrance. I did not. I was pretty disgusted by the end of this movie. Pretty disgusted, and I couldn't take my eyes away. But but like there's this moment where a kid is locked into an electrical closet and he's just screaming for pretty much the whole movie, but you only hear him when you're walking by that room, and it's horrifying when you're there and it's happening, but literally as soon as you walk away and something else takes your attention, you just stop thinking about it. And I thought maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I thought that was fascinating, and very, very, very disturbing. And I think the last thing that I want to say here, the last shot, it's just fucking hell. It's a long shot of it's upside down, so they flip the camera around, so everything is just topsy-turvy and you can't it's just body parts and darkness and red lighting, and your head is like hurting, and everybody's losing their mind or doing some kind of heinous fucked up shit, and you can't really tell anything. And we're just rolling through all of this. So Twitter's the crying child in the electrical closet. No, Twitter would be me, I suppose. Twitter would be me, the viewer watching something horrible happen in front of you, being so invested in being upset by it. Then the camera looks away and I suddenly am focused on something completely different and no longer thinking about that thing that just happened. And that's only highlighted in this movie because of the sheer amount of horrible shit that was happening here. If you think that you can handle, if this movie sounds appealing to you, I would check it out. It's always like, and this is not the most difficult movie that I've ever seen. Like Inland Empire, still by David Lynch, still takes the cake for nightmare, like surreal, destructive nightmare, where when I watch that movie I just lose myself, and that's why I love it so much. Like I feel like I actually fall into a horrible nightmare that I cannot escape whatsoever. For Climax, I was able to keep a pretty healthy distance from it and just kind of react, and I feel fine right now, right? It's not like or even nostalgia by Andrei Tarkov. With that one, like I can't even like move after I watch that movie. This one, I'm here. I feel fine. It's just a little tricky to talk about. That's all. Definitely go into this movie knowing though that it can be a difficult time. And it's definitely trying out a lot of experimental things, a lot of long takes. There's not really like a plot here, right? If you're looking for like, that might be why Angry Joe's worst movie, there's not like a story here. I'm bringing all these ideas, or I'm having to read in all these ideas into it, and that's why I found it fascinating. Especially just like reading it as trying to survive in on the internet.